What if I told you there was a place, long ago, where knowledge was so precious it was treated like royalty? Well, today we're diving into the epic story of an ancient center of learning, its incredible rise, its heartbreaking fall, and its comeback story for the ages. This is the story of Nalanda.
And this quote, it just hits you, right? It perfectly sets the stage for what we're about to explore. We're not just talking about some old ruins with buildings, we're hopping on a journey to follow an idea, a legacy of wisdom that has literally traveled through centuries.
Okay, so let's paint a picture. I want you to imagine a place in the heart of ancient India. The sun's coming up and the air is buzzing, not just with temple bells, but with the sounds of passionate debates between students. You've got these incredible red brick towers stretching up to the sky and courtyards just packed with thousands of scholars. This wasn't just any school, you know. This was the beating intellectual heart of the ancient world.
And I'm not exaggerating. Nalanda's reputation was massive, truly global. It was the place to be, drawing bright minds from all over Asia, from Persia, Indonesia, you name it. And get this, many of these students walked for months, crossing treacherous mountains and vast deserts, all for the chance to study here. Can you even imagine that level of dedication?
So, to really get a feel for what Nalanda was like, let's see it through the eyes of a young boy named Aaruni. His story is basically the story of Nalanda. He shows up with this one huge, simple dream: to soak up every last bit of knowledge the world has to offer. He's going to be our guide on this journey.
So when Aaruni meets his teacher and asks what he's going to learn, this is the answer he gets. And that right there, that's the secret sauce of Nalanda. It wasn't about just cramming your head full of facts. Nope. It was about teaching you how to think, how to be curious. They believed that the real foundation of all wisdom starts with asking the right questions.
And at the absolute center of this world of questions was its library. Now, every university has a library, but Nalanda's was something else. It was called Ratnasagara, which literally means the ocean of gems. What a name. It wasn't just a building full of scrolls. It was the physical heart of all their wisdom. Okay, get ready for this number. 9 million. Let that just sit with you for a second. That's how many manuscripts they had. 9 million. And remember, this is way before printing presses or computers. Every single scroll, every manuscript was painstakingly copied by hand over hundreds of years. The scale of it is just staggering.
So what exactly was in those 9 million manuscripts? Well, pretty much everything. The movements of the stars, cutting-edge medicine for the time, advanced math, dozens of languages, and of course, deep dives into philosophy, trying to figure out the secrets of life itself. It was basically the entire universe of human knowledge, all collected in one place.
And it's here, surrounded by all of this wisdom, that Aaruni's teacher gives him this really heavy responsibility. He doesn't just say, go read. He says, protect this. Protect it with your mind and your soul. And that promise, well, it becomes the emotional core of our whole story. It's a vow to protect humanity's greatest treasure.
So, years go by. Aaruni grows into a respected scholar. But you know how these stories go. Peace like this rarely lasts forever. A dark cloud starts to form on the horizon, an invading army, led by a man named Bakhtiar Khilji. And he wasn't interested in learning or debating. He represented a force that only wanted to destroy. And the tragedy just unfolds step by step. First, the army arrives at the gates. Then you can just picture the panic. Monks and teachers, people who spent their entire lives with these texts, frantically trying to hide what little they can. And finally, the unthinkable happens. The great library is set on fire.
For Aaruni, watching this, it must have felt like the world was ending. The wisdom of centuries, the life's work of countless people, all of it just going up in smoke. The sky literally turned red from the flames consuming the ocean of gems. It said the library burned for 3 straight months. 3 months.
But right there, in the middle of all that fire and devastation, his teacher says something incredible. His last words aren't about despair, they're about the future. He's passing the torch. He's basically saying, they can burn our books, but they can't burn the idea. It's up to you now to keep that light alive.
And that's where the final chapter of our story begins. Because for centuries, Nalanda was just ruins, a ghost of what it used to be. But here's the thing. An idea is so much harder to kill than a building. And Aaruni's promise, his teacher's words, they weren't forgotten. Just look at this timeline.
We are talking about more than 800 years passing, a huge gap in time. But all through that long, quiet period, the memory of Nalanda was kept alive. Scholars who escaped shared its teachings around the world, travelers wrote about its former glory. The idea of Nalanda became this powerful legend, just waiting for the right moment to come back.
And then, in 2010, that moment finally came. A new, modern Nalanda University opened its doors, built right near the original site. It was like a declaration to the whole world that the journey wasn't over. That promise was kept. The lamp was finally lit again.
Which brings us to the most powerful lesson here. Sure, fire can destroy fragile manuscripts and brick buildings, but it can never, ever destroy the knowledge itself.
Because wisdom, that ability to ask the right questions and to understand our world, that is something that's truly immortal.
Because that light was never really trapped inside a single building or a single book, it lives inside the minds of people who seek it, and that's why the light of Nalanda lives forever.
So I'll leave you with a question for our own time. If you were a modern-day Aaruni, looking at the vast library of our age, the internet, what would you fight to protect? What ideas, what discoveries from right now are so important that we need to make sure they survive for the next 1,000 years? Think about it.